More documents have dropped as a result of the investigation into Donald Trump's efforts to silence Stormy Daniels before the 2016 election. Now, this is according to an article written by the Daily Beast. Federal prosecutors have released hundreds of pages of documents detailing how the president's former fixer, Cohen, illegally paid hush money to Stormy Daniels and former Playboy model Karen McDougal. Now, both of them were prepared to say before Election Day that Donald Trump had had an affair with them. Now, that you would think at the time would have been disastrous for Donald Trump's campaign. But as we've learned now, it wouldn't have made any sort of difference. Again, you had just the numerous scandals. Donald Trump just got credibly accused of rape not more than a week ago. So, and his followers, they're still with him. So, again, this wouldn't have made a difference. But the problem here, of course, is that it broke campaign finance law. So now, the Beast writes that a federal judge had ordered the documents to be released after Manhattan federal prosecutors told courts that it closed its investigation into the Trump organization over the hush money payouts. Now, Cohen was an executive at the company and had also pled guilty in 2018 to campaign finance violations in connection with the payout. So it was a campaign finance violation. In fact, Cohen is in serving prison time, but Donald Trump has not so far. Very interesting, and he probably never will, because right now we have a Justice Department that refuses to hold the president accountable for any sort of criminality. But anyway, now let me give you a timeline here about basically this entire case, of what we know thanks to the investigation and these newly released documents. Now, in 2016, in October, Daniel's attorney, Keith Davidson, had contacted Cohen and AMI, that's the company owned by David Pecker that runs the National Enquirer, about the allegations of an affair with Donald Trump. The next day, Donald Trump's close personal assistant, Hope Hicks, who knew about this as well, possibly lied under oath, called Michael Cohen, and that's what these FBI documents allege, that Hope Hicks had lied under oath about this. Now, Hicks, like I said, called and even texted Cohen. Funny enough, one of her texts, and this was coming after the Access Hollywood tape, is that, oh my God, just pray that it goes away. Pray this whole thing goes away. So you're literally going to ask God to, take away these allegations that your, boss is a horrible person? Not going to happen. Because for one, I don't believe there is a God. And number two, he's a horrible person regardless. And there are plenty of other horrible things that he has done. But anyway, so now, seconds later, after Hope Hicks had called Cohen, guess who jumped into the conversation? Not president at the time, but candidate Donald Trump. Trump joined the call, and they spoke for approximately 4 minutes. What did they talk about? It's pretty clear that they probably talked about Stormy Daniels. Now, as FBI agents had noted, it was the first time Cohen had spoken to Hicks in weeks, and the first time he and Trump had spoken in months, a sign of how explosive the campaign viewed the possible Daniels story. After a short call between Cohen and Hicks, Cohen phoned AMI chairman David Pecker, longtime friend of Trump and owner of the National Enquirer. Cohen then called Dylan Howard, AMI's chief content officer and Pecker's lieutenant. Cohen, Pecker, and Trump then spoke together for nearly 8 minutes. So now this is according to the documents, this is according to the FBI, right? So all this is documented. Trump was speaking with all these people, Hope Hicks, Michael Cohen, David Pecker, all of them getting together. Gee, I wonder what they talked about. Yeah, right. Okay. Now, after another call with Cohen, Howard sent him a text message, quote, "Keith will do it. Let's convene tomorrow." Now, again, Keith is Keith Davidson, which is, again, Stormy Daniels' attorney. So I'm assuming those conversations had everything to do with making this settlement. And by the way, the following day, Cohen created a non-disclosure agreement with Davidson and Stormy Daniels, using pseudonyms in the agreement for them and for Donald Trump. It subject all parties to complete silence. By the end of the month, after threats by Davidson that Cohen was taking too long to pay, Cohen wired $130,000 to Davidson and ended up sealing the deal. Now, for McDougal, Cohen had previously arranged for AMI to buy the life rights of Karen McDougal in her story, who pitched the Inquirer on a story about her alleged affair with Donald Trump. AMI bought McDougal's story for about $150,000 at Cohen's urging, according to prosecutors. Now, instead of publishing her story, as we all know, AMI basically sat on it. They did what was called catch and kill. And so they bought the story, and then they sat on it and said, well, this is never going to see the light of day. Now, they've done that before with other celebrity stories. And so in this case, Donald Trump, big friend of David Pecker and AMI, they decided, well, we're going to help their political career by making sure we sit on the story. So now Donald Trump's role in this, court papers filed in the Cohen case showed that Trump, referred to as Individual 1, directed the hush money scheme to Stormy Daniels. Cohen said in his guilty plea that he had also made the hush money payments in coordination at the direction of Donald Trump. And in subsequent testimony before the House Oversight Committee, Cohen produced checks from the Trump Organization signed by Donald Trump in August of 2017 when he was in the White House to reimburse Cohen for the payments. So now Cohen paid Stormy Daniels off back in 2016. It took a long time for Donald Trump to pay him back. Now, wait a minute. If you were a billionaire, if you're somebody who is as wealthy as President Trump, then why would you need to take about a year to pay off Michael Cohen, who paid out of his own money to cover up for Trump's mistakes, his wandering penis? I mean, think about that for a while, right? Not that anybody wants to think about anything related to Donald Trump's penis. That said, okay, now, in December of 2018, the New York Times had reported that Cohen had told federal prosecutors that Trump Organization Chief Financial Officer Alan Weisselberg had also helped out in this hush money scheme. Now, the story reportedly prompted prosecutors to take a bigger look at Weisselberg, who had received limited immunity to testify before a grand jury. Cohen told a similar story when he testified before the House Oversight Committee. He told lawmakers that Trump directed him and Weisselberg to figure out how to pay her the $130,000 in hush money when Daniels' attorney first threatened to tell the press of their 2006 affair. And now, again, that's going back to, what was it, Keith Davidson, right? So now Davidson made this agreement with Cohen, again, for $130,000. And then Davidson's like, you haven't paid up. We've kept our end of the bargain. You guys haven't given us any money yet. And so, we're sitting here, we're waiting, we're being patient. But if you don't pay us, then we're going to go forward. We're going to go right to the press for that story. So that prompted, of course, Cohen to basically pay out of his own pocket. So now, let me go here. Cohen claimed that Weisselberg said he couldn't use any of his own money to pay Daniels. And with the payment deadline looming, Cohen said the two agreed that Cohen would pay out of his own personal funds. So now Weisselberg also allegedly played a role in helping reimburse Cohen for those payments. And so now Weisselberg is also, according to court documents, known as Executive 1, right? Now, Executive 1, according to charges filed against Cohen in the Southern District of New York last year, first received Cohen's request that the Trump Organization reimburse him for a hush money payment to Stormy Daniels. Weisselberg then forwarded the request to another Trump Organization executive with instructions to pay the invoice as a retainer for legal services. So again, that's part of the scam. That's part of a way to disguise this payment to Cohen, or else it would look rather, suspicious. Why are you wiring $130,000 to Michael Cohen? Oh, okay. You know what? He was a lawyer. He's legal fees. He's doing legal work for the Trump Organization. That's what he's doing. I mean, so he pays $130,000 to bury the story. Cohen does. Then apparently, according to the organization, does legal work to the tune of, miraculously, golly gee, $130,000. Now, the thing is, according to prosecutors, in these documents, there was no such retainer agreement between Cohen and the Trump organization, and Cohen had never performed legal work for the company during that time. It is a complete lie. And that's why, of course, we have Cohen that pled guilty to campaign finance charges. That money was a campaign contribution given to Donald Trump. And of course, the reason that's illegal is that you can't just give unlimited campaign contributions, unless, of course, you're a super PAC, 5014C. But look, the Trump organization is not all that smart, right? Donald Trump is not all that smart. They thought they could hide this because, I guess, before they could get, they'd get away with it. Now, Trump knew this was going on. He ordered those payments. He knew he was violating the law. And he also knew that covering up that story was a political move to help him secure the election because he thought, oh man, that actually might look really bad. So that's where we're at today, right? So now these documents are out. The case is over, right? So now the question is anybody going to be held accountable for it other than Michael Cohen? Is there anything that the Southern District of New York can actually do against the sitting president? I mean, right now, the Justice Department won't do anything against Donald Trump. We know that for certain. William Barr can attest to that. The whole appointment of William Barr is basically to have someone there in the Justice Department that will defend Donald Trump against anything. Now, we also know that Nancy Pelosi is not going to do anything against Donald Trump. Why? She refuses to impeach no matter what. Yes, she continues these investigations, but to what end? To what end? If you're not finding... So if you're trying to find his criminality, and there is probably plenty of criminality in the Trump organization. In fact, we've already had, 10 counts of obstruction of justice within the Mueller report. And you also have these documents that clearly spell out Donald Trump taking a leading role in breaking campaign finance law, for which one person has already been sentenced to prison for. We know he has a role. There's already enough criminality for Nancy Pelosi, and yet she's like, no, he's going to self-impeach. That's about as dumb as saying, undocumented immigrants, they're going to self-deport. It's ridiculous. So, look, what's going to happen? I don't know what's going to happen, all right? So we're going to have to see. I'm deeply, deeply cynical about this, but here's more and more proof that Donald Trump is a complete criminal. We have a criminal in the White House, and we have a feckless Democratic Party that refuses to do anything about it. Our country is being run by crooks, and this is just more evidence of it. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know how I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent, progressive media.